Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. This is Vrinda from Baltimore. I welcome you all for today's session. Hare Krishna Maharaj, are we continuing with the verses which we were discussing before?
Well, we finished that section. There was a request based on my class the other day to the Russian devotees to speak on the second chapter of the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, in that the entire science of devotional service is condensed into about 6 verses. So we'll take those 6 verses day by day, and the first verse is text 1 to 16.
Okay.
So you can inform the devotees that this is a series of verses on the complete science of Bhagavatam, somewhat condensed in a very direct. And Srila Prabhupada also included these verses on his, when Srila Prabhupada included these verses on his Mark on Bhagavad Dharma discourses when he wrote that poem when he came over on the Jaladuta. He didn't include this verse. He started with verse 17. But this verse is also foundational for the rest of the. Okay, we'll begin. And I would really request devotees to stay on every day if you want to get the benefit, or at least somehow or other listen to all the lectures, because it's connected one verse after another. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sushusho Shradanasyaham Vasudevakata Ruchi Shanmahat Sevaya Vitra Gurnyati Sevana. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gets an affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. I'll repeat. So Sutta Goswami is speaking to the sages of Namisaranya. He's answering a question. And the question is, I'll give you the actual question so you can see how this is the answer to that question. Question is, let's see. What is the essence of all scriptures? And so the essence is being explained here. Serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gets an affinity, or actually a direct desire for hearing the message of Vasudeva. Srila Prabhupada's report. The conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. So this is our situation. We're in the material world somehow. We can't remember, but we revolted against the Lord. There are men called devas, or godly living beings. There are men called asuras, or demons, who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, a vivid description of the asuras is given, in which it is said that the asuras are put into lower and lower status of ignorance, life after life, and so sink to the lower animal forms and have no information of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. These asuras are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of the Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the supreme will. So the world is actually filled with demons right now. And so people are taking birth on this planet and then losing that birth and going down to lower species of life. The population now, there is no vana sanskara, and therefore people just wantonly have sex at any time. And therefore they bring in these souls from lower species of life and from demoniac planets. And they come onto the earth, which changes the collective karmic count of the earth and brings it to a lower and lower. But here is the remedy by which they are rectified. Such devotees of God, talking about the great souls, are very confidential associates of the Lord. When they come to save human society from the dangers of godlessness, they are known as the powerful incarnations of the Lord. As sons of the Lord, as servants of the Lord, as associates of the Lord. But none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. This is a blasphemy declared by the Asuras, and the demoniac followers such Asuras also accept pretenders of God as his incarnation. So people who follow the demons, and that means the average Joe on the street, they are, they accept anybody who can do some mystic power or can speak very convincingly. And if he says he's an incarnation of God or God himself, they believe it. In the revealed scriptures, there is definite information of the incarnation of God. No one should be accepted as God or an incarnation of God unless he is confirmed by the revealed scriptures. So here is the test. The servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. So this is important. The spiritual master or the great souls should be respected and worshiped and served as if God were personally present in them. He is personally present in them. They represent him, and therefore they also accept service by others on behalf of the Lord. These servants are called Mahatmas, or holy places, tirthas, and they preach according to a particular time and place. Prabhupada is giving a very wide range of these great souls, Mahatmas, people who are very highly empowered, gurus, sadhus, people who are fixed in devotional service to the Lord. And these servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. So so this is very important. Not only do not say they're God, but they glorify God and they encourage by their words, by their examples, by everything they do, that we should become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself according to the indication of revealed scriptures, but he played the part of a devotee. People who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears with his hands and chant the name of Lord Vishnu. He strongly protested against being called God, although undoubtedly he was God himself. The Lord behaved so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. So what Lord Chaitanya was doing was quite very fashionable at the time. The people would become very powerful through austerities and penances, and also develop mystic power and immediately claim to be a god or an incarnation of God. So Lord Chaitanya, in his appearance in this world, he presented himself as a devotee of God and very much reacted against being called God, because he didn't want that principle of misidentification of the Lord to spread, which was already doing even further. And you see, it still goes on today. You go to India, there are so many persons who claim to be incarnations of God or God himself. But then we refer back to the statement that unless they are mentioned in the revealed scriptures, they have no validation and they are simply pretenders, that's all. The Lord, the servants of God come to propagate God consciousness. An intelligent person should cooperate with them in every respect. So this is a very important thing. Gurus and those who are qualified to lead people, they should be respected, and people shouldn't argue with them, shouldn't disrespect them, should always find ways to carry out their instructions and guidance, and find ways to make them comfortable by doing various types of services, because as it says here, they are non-different in God because they play the role of the representative of God. Prabhupada would use the example of the viceroy or the ambassador who travels to another country on behalf of his country, and he is welcomed, served, and respected as if the president of that country would personally come. So this is the same principle applied, that the servants of the Lord, the pure devotees, must be, they should be cooperated with all respect. To disobey them means to disobey the Lord. By serving the servants of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. Here, so a very important statement. The Lord shows how we can please him by pleasing those who represent him. And if we try to please Krishna directly and step over these representatives, then as the verse, we sing this verse every day, Yasya Prasada, Bhagavat Prasado, Yasya Prasadam, Nagotikotopi. Nagotikotopi means it's all a waste of time. You can't jump over the servants of God directly to the Lord because the Lord doesn't accept. You have to go through his representatives. The Lord himself puts the program in place, and he empowers those who are directly serving him in pure devotion. And then when one serves them, they are actually pleasing and serving the Lord directly. Here it said, so Krishna Prabhupada goes on, the Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord, and so are very dear to the Lord. The Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita, and no one is more dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, Here it says, actually, by serving these great souls, we actually start to pick up some of their qualities. And thus we become qualified to hear the glories of God. So here, through their service, and as the Bhagavad Gita verse says, Tad vidipati pratena paripasyena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvatarshanaha. And so that verse says, Pariprasyena, Paripatena, and Sevaya. Paripatena means to fall flat, front of them, offer obeisance in a humble way. Pariprasyena means to inquire from them, relevant inquiries into the absolute truth or into the process of devotional service. And Sevaya means to be ready and eager to offer service. Last line, the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. So all the other qualifications follow. The first thing is we have to be eager to hear. Obviously, those who are here today are eager to hear. And others who are not here today, for whatever reasons, may not have that same eagerness. So you can see this opportunity to hear is available. So some take advantage of it and some don't. Those who take advantage of it will get the mercy of the Lord. Those who don't will have to struggle on whatever level they are practicing in devotional service. And when the mercy of the Lord, everything becomes easy. It's just like if you're in your house and it's dark in the house and you're trying to find something in the house, you may have a hard time finding it because there's no light. But if the light is on, then it's easy to find. Same thing, the light of mercy comes when we actually serve the servants of the Lord and be eager to hear from them. Okay, this verse is and the result of this particular verse, as it's explained, along with the extenuating explanation coming by Srila Prabhupada's purport, is that we start getting attached to hearing about Krishna. And here we go. This is what we want. We want that strong desire to hear about Krishna. When we gain that desire, then we know we are making advancement in devotional service. We know we are following the process correctly. And some people are trying to follow the process, but they follow it incorrect. And therefore, they get less benefit from their efforts. Therefore, Krishna told Brahma that, following according to the principles of devotional service given in the scriptures and by the Lord himself and given through his pure devotees, is foundational in order to make progress in devotional service. It's nice that people have sentiment, but sentiment has to be guided by knowledge. Otherwise, sentiment can lead in different directions. One has to have the knowledge. The knowledge is knowledge of the process, how this process works. So that's why we are here, to teach how the process works. Not only teach the knowledge of the process, but how it is applied in a day-to-day life. And that may be, it's generally the same for all, but not always. And there will be cases where people will need certain special guidance and instructions according to their situation, according to their level of development. So this is all due to the mercy coming from Krishna, because Krishna does everything he can that in order to wake us up and guide us in devotional service. And his most merciful manifestation of his mercy is his sending his pure devotees to act on his behalf. There's no greater than that. That's why it says that the spiritual master is the mercy incarnation of the Lord. Because he's even more merciful than the Lord, and because he's giving the Lord through the process of pure devotional service as given in the Shastra. So here, what we're learning from this particular verse is that one should seek out, associate with, hear from, and ask questions to clarify and to move forward in devotional service. And the most important thing is that one should be eager and at the same time submissive in receiving guidance and instructions. Not that one should be in a challenging mood. One should be submissive. It's like yesterday we were hearing one class. I was also attending the class by one very learned devotee here in Slovenia. But, sometimes he was challenged into what he was saying. And I could see the challenger wasn't gaining much from the response given by the speaker. He was more into challenging or into somehow or other presenting his own interpretation of what was being given to him. And that doesn't work. One should be open, hear, ask relevant questions, and get clarification, and then understand. And then the next question was how to apply. So there's no greater mercy than the Lord's pure devotees who come. And as Prabhupada says here, you find them in different countries around the world. They're not just located in one place. Therefore, Krishna is merciful, especially in this age of Kali, when everything is so topsy-turvy that spiritual life is not understood by people in general. And therefore, even those who take the spiritual life wind up getting connected to someone who claims to be qualified or who is a guru or a great soul, but they wind up getting someone who is just looking for money, followers, some kind of prestige, or selling his books. Just like there was one person who was considering, he was considered to be a saintly person. And he would always preach that don't read books. You should not read books. You should just simply hear from the guru. And now the same person also was writing books. So he was writing books saying, don't read books. Now, for an intelligent person, and they can see through that. And he's saying, you don't need a guru. You can be your own guru. And therefore, don't read books and don't take a guru. He's a guru who's telling you not to have a guru. He's a guru who's telling you not to read books, who's writing books. And people say, oh, yes, he's very intelligent. He's telling us not to accept a guru. And he's a guru because he puts himself in a position of guiding other people. That's what it means to be a guru in spiritual matters. And then at the same time, he says you don't need a guru. So, and Prabhupada points him out as being really one of the most ridiculous of all the so-called phony gurus. And so there were so many people like that. So there are many pretenders. There are also many real ones, but the question is, how do you find a real one? You have to want the real thing. When you want the real thing, it's easy to find a person who gives you the real thing. But if you want something less, in other words, if you want spiritual life and material benefits simultaneously, you might wind up with, and you probably will, with someone who can give you both a little bit of spirituality and a lot of material success and how to live your life. So we should understand the quality of our desire will also bring about the knowledge that we need, or the knowledge that will come to us. And whether that desire is pure, we'll get pure knowledge. If the desire is not pure, we'll get mixed knowledge. Okay, so we'll stop there and we'll open it up for questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for this class, for choosing this verse, which shares the glorifications of the servant of the Lord, and also about hearing how we should be eager to hear, and how we should be submissive while hearing.
And one point that I want to emphasize, it leads to attachment to hearing about Krishna. So if we take shelter of these great souls and serve great souls, we develop that attachment to hear about Krishna, which is the foundation for our execution of Krishna consciousness.
Yes. Thank you so much, Maharaj. I request devotees, if there are any questions, comments, please go ahead. Please turn on your videos. It would be nice to see you all. You can either raise your hands or you can put your question in the chat. Maharaj, I have one question. In the purport, it is mentioned towards the end of the purport, it is mentioned that how one becomes qualified to hear after serving the servants of the Lord. So does it mean that we have to first start to serve the servants of the Lord, and then we gradually become eligible to hear the glories of the Lord?
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we can hear the glories of the Lord, but the eligibility and the desire to hear comes by way of the mercy of the great souls.
Okay. Like you mentioned, that attachment to hearing comes only after we serve the devotees of the Lord. Right?
Yeah, we may hear, but attachment is another thing. It's another level of hearing. When you find yourself you're unhappy or you're disturbed when you're not finding time to hear, that's an indication that you have developed. You're eager, and if you miss hearing, you become a little unhappy with yourself, and you look for opportunities to hear more. That eagerness causes disturbance when we're not able to receive the mercy. Oh, I was supposed to read my Bhagavatam today, and I had other things to do. I missed today, and though he thinks tomorrow, I'm going to do it twice as much to make up for it. So, in other words, there's a kind of regret if we miss hearing. It's like you like something very much and you miss out on it. Oh, I was supposed to meet my friend, and somehow or other I forgot about the appointment. And then you lament, oh. So my friend is Krishna, who's come in the form of the Bhagavatam.
So Maharaj, so does it mean that hearing should come before reading the books?
Well, reading the books is hearing. But hearing directly from the spiritual master is, they say that's superior. Because books came later, knowledge was first transformed or transferred from guru to disciple. And that was the transmission of transcendental knowledge. The Vedas are all done through that. Vyasadeva wrote down the Vedas because people's memory in Kali Yuga would be shortened by the effects of the age. So in order to have the access to this knowledge, he wrote down the Vedic literature. But before then, it was all, that's why Vedas are called Shruti. Another name for Vedas is Shruti, means they are heard. And the word Upanishad, now the Vedas are made up of the Upanishads. The Shruti is made up mostly of the Upanishads. And the Upanishads, the word Upanishads means to sit down near. So near who? Near the Guru. And here, and then questions can be given, discussions can be awakened, clarifications are given. When you do that, when you're reading the books, you can't really question. You can write down questions, but you'll have to wait until you can actually speak to someone to clarify if you don't know exactly what's being explained to you through the books. So hearing is superior, direct hearing, but both are good.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj, for clarifying that. Thank you. I see Sridevi Mataji has raised her hand. Mataji, please go ahead.
Mataji, there is a question on the chat by Devanand Prabhu as well.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. I will read it, Maharaj, for you. It's a long one. He says, obviously serving the devotees free from all vices is an amazing opportunity. At present, when the demonic army of racists attacked my country, when this army completely destroyed hundreds of cities and towns, when it killed and brutally tortured thousands of civilians, when children are raped in front of their parents and then these children bury their murdered parents in the courtyard of their own house, when millions of Ukrainian women and children fled abroad from a terrible fate. At this very time, the so-called devotees of Krishna go out in Moscow for Harinam, decorating themselves with the distinctive signs of this fascist army. At the same time, the leadership of the Ukrainian Yatra fled Kyiv from rocket attacks in Russia. Devotees in Vaishnava clothes and adorned with tilak are recording appeals in which they support the killing of civilians in Ukraine. Please tell me what is the official position of Iskcon and GBC regarding the aggression and these terrible atrocities of demons in my country. This is a question by Devanand Pandit Prabhuji.
It's not possible to answer that question because I don't know the official position.
No position.
I don't know what the official position is of Iskcon in regards to this because there is no official position. Different devotees have different opinions about what is going on and have positions. Our position is to somehow or other send food and relief to the people there, which we are doing. If you see, you'll see that Parasaram from London, along with his crew, have come right into the war zone with food to feed as many people as they can. and give help on all different levels. Some senior devotees are working in a very regular way to get devotees out of that arrangement and so far we've gotten 20,000 devotees out of the Ukraine. So the official position is to help the people there somehow by giving food to those who can't leave, and by getting the devotees out of the country into different places. Like here I am in Slovenia, but I was in Croatia just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm with 3 or 4 different Ukrainian devotees who were somehow or other able to escape there. So I met them, I talked to them, and devotees are taking care of them. So devotees around the world, especially in the European countries, are receiving the devotees who are coming out of the Ukraine in Poland, in Croatia, in Czechoslovakia, and other countries. Devotees are giving shelter, food, and a place to live to all of these devotees. The ones that can't get out, of course, we're trying to get every devotee out, but people in general we're feeding. You can go online and you just check. It was I sent it on the news just the other about a week ago. It was on Iskcon News, what the devotees are doing inside to give food and relief to the people. And these devotees are risking their life to go into these war zones to save these people, to help these people. So the official position of Iskcon is not political at all. There's no political particular statement or standing on anything political. It's just to help the people who are being victimized by the war. That is the position of Iskcon.
Very sad. Sad but true.
If you want Iskcon to take the side of one or the other, then you're not going to be able to understand that it's not like that. There are devotees on all around and on different sides. There's no particular allegiance given to either one or the other. The war itself is just miserable. It's a political war. It's an economic war. It's a war to stamp out fascism. And it is so, you can't expect the Iskcon Society to make a statement. The only statement is to help the people who are suffering there. That's what we're doing, and that's actually going on. A lot of it, you may not know what's happening, but there are many devotees working to help get devotees out of there and to send in food. I've also helped out financially to send in money so we could buy food. Many other devotees have done the same thing. Thousands and thousands of euros have gone into that country by devotees to feed people, to mitigate their difficulties. But you can't expect people to take a political stance. As soon as we take a political stance, you're on one side or the other, and it's going to create all kinds of controversy. So when the Iskcon Society as general doesn't have a political stance on the war, and because there is no stable political stance. The media is saying one thing, what's happening is another thing, what's coming from other sources is another thing. You can't figure out what's going on in this war. It's really, really complicated. But ultimately, people are being killed. And that's the way war is too. You'll see if you study the history of war, you find that, women, children, and just people in general who have nothing to do with the war wind up to be, slaughtered in this war. Happens every war. I was in Vietnam. I was there for 18 months. And I knew about all the atrocities, not all of them, but some of the atrocities that the Vietnamese people had suffered both at the hands of both armies, both opposing armies. The people suffered always. Yeah. It's just the way it is. The U.S. Army, the French Army, the Vietnamese Army, the Communist Army, all of these people, all of these armies were fighting in different ways. And who was suffering? The people. That's just the way war is.
What about Harinama in Moscow decorated with fascist symbols? This is politic or not politic? What is this?
I don't know. I don't know anything about what you just said. I haven't heard anything about that. So I don't know. I would have to know more. I'm just hearing it for the first time.
Very strange. What about Russian devotees who are supporting murder of civilian people in Ukraine? Who adopted this? Is this politic? This is Iskcon politic in Russia. What is GBC position about this?
I don't know. They haven't said anything about it. You can speak to some of the devotees who are right on the spot. You can write to the devotees you can ask the GBC who is in charge of that area and find out more. I don't know. I can actually say I don't know. What I told you is what I know. That's all I know. And you're not going to get me to defend one side or the other. That's not the thing. Is this war is a mess, and it's going to lead to World War III. This is just the beginning, because it's a big war, and the experts are saying that studying the history of World War I and studying the history of World War II, they find that similar patterns that led up to both of those wars are happening now in this battle here in the Ukraine. It's going to lead to divisions of countries taking sides in different places. So that's a bigger problem. And you can expect, and this is what's happening, there's going to be a major economic collapse, not only in that area, but around the world. And these are what experts are saying. I don't really know, what's going on with the GBC or what's with this Harinam with different symbols. I don't know anything about that. And I don't have an opinion of it. Only when I know more about it can I say something, but I don't know enough about it. There's always two sides to everything. We see one side, but there's always the other side. You have to understand things in a broader perspective. And that usually sometimes doesn't come out immediately. It takes time. What is actually going on? If you want to speak to me privately, I will, and I can give you some insight by what I know from what the devotees are doing there, but I won't make that public.
Thank you, Maharaj. There is one question by Vrinda Mataji in the chat.
Devananda Pandit, I can empathize with what you're experiencing. And because you're seeing and you're hearing and you're also somewhat of a victim along with your family of the war. But we have to understand this is the nature of war. That when you're looking for right and wrong, the wrong thing is sinful activities. When sinful activities build up, and then there is a collective karmic cash in, and people suffer. So what we want to do is encourage people to take shelter of devotional service, to chant the holy names of the Lord, and anyone who can help others in this situation should do so. Either directly, I mean, the devotees in London are doing an amazing job. Parasaram is just like a hero. He's just, he's Food for Life in London, but he's taken his Food for Life program and he's brought it to the Ukraine. There's videos of it. I saw these videos. He has a whole troop of, I think Sukavaha could probably also mention what he's doing. He's a real warrior to help people.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, thank you. My obeisances to you and Srila Prabhupada. Parshuram Prabhu is doing a really brilliant job. We all have donated them. And whatever help everyone can do, we are doing our level best to help. So, yeah, Devanand Prabhu, we are trying our level best.
Mhm. It's better not to make judgments unless we really understand what's going on.
So, Maharaj, can I go to the next question? I don't want to interrupt again. Sorry.
Okay, who is it, Sri Devi?
There are two questions in the chat. Sri Devi Mataji can go ahead first. Then after that, I'll read the questions.
Yeah, Sri Devi.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your divine lotus feet, Guru Maharaj. This particular verse that you spoke of, explaining to us that service to the pure devotee of the Lord is the only way to serve the Lord, because the Lord will only take pure devotional service. And how by carrying out the orders, by not disobeying the pure devotees, because disobeying the pure devotee is like disobeying God. You said that, and I remember writing that down. But we are not so obedient or submissive or faithful or elevated in our Krishna consciousness that we listen and follow and obey and so on. So how we can do better, that's one thing. And then should we be ready to do any service that any devotee asks of us?
How can we better tune in to the instructions of the spiritual master and take advantage of these instructions more than we are at the present moment? Well, again, it comes back to the verse itself, through association with such personalities and regular hearing. We have, therefore, when you understand how the bhakti works, repetition is a very important part of development. That means we need to hear continuously. And as we hear continuously, we develop the acumen or the adhikari in order to assimilate and to understand. And then there is always questions. you have to, you just have to assimilate. And reputation, and that's why Prabhupada would also say, if you don't understand something, read it again. And if you keep reading it, it becomes more and more clearer each time. Same with the process of hearing. Hear it over and over again until you get it. Okay? And the second question, should we be ready to do service anytime some devotee asks us? The question is yes. And the clause is, we may not be able to, but we should always be ready to.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, thank you. You did answer this question before in the same way. Thank you very much for the repetition.
Maharaj, there is one question in the chat by Vrinda Mataji. Shall I read it, Maharaj, for you?
Who?
Vrinda Mataji.
Brenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, is she there? Oh yeah, Brenda, okay, yeah. Is that Brenda from London?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, yes it is.
Oh, okay. Is the same Brenda that I stayed at your apartment?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. I hope you're well.
She's asking, this verse speaks of the importance of hearing. I have often experienced, I feel satisfied after hearing, but in the verse, Tadviddhi Pranipatena, we understand that we must inquire. How can we reflect deeper on what we hear so that we become deeper inquirer or questioners?
Can we reflect? Read that part again.
How can we reflect deeper on what we hear so that we become deeper inquirers or questioners?
And what we read or what we hear?
What we hear. What we hear.
Well, think about it. Reflection means to give someone something sustained thought and try to look at it from what you understand it to be and maybe from another angle of vision. You may also ask, well, someone who who you feel qualified, well, what do you think of this? And you can tell them what you heard and see what they say. Well, what if you're hearing from a person, you also have to understand that the person, when they speak, there is the element of personality comes within the sound vibration also. So the way they say something and what they say combines in the reflection and not just what they say. So yeah, therefore one should think about it, reflect upon it, see if there's another opinion on what you have, and contemplate that also. So it takes some time. With reading, that's easier. With hearing, because you're just hearing and then the words are continuous and then things move on. You have to really capture that particular moment. Just like when someone asks me a question, a lot of times they're thinking about something while they're asking me a question. They have a preconceived idea of what should be the answer. And therefore they don't hear. They don't hear because they're looking for an answer from what they give as a question, and therefore they don't hear clearly. Or they want the answer to be the way they want them to be, or something similar to that. And that is not reflective listening. That is filtering what is being said through my own consciousness. And that is one of the principles that destroys proper hearing. So when we hear, we should have faith in the speaker. We should be submissive to hear with an open mind and an open heart. And we should be thinking about what is being said. And then once we think about it, we can go to the next stage and think, well, how do I understand it deeper? And how do I actually use it in my progress in devotional service? So yeah, that reflection is important. So if you're listening to tapes, Rinda, and then you can play back the tape again and hear the same thing again. With the person and your hearing, you can ask them to clarify and repeat what they said. So I'm assuming, I might be wrong, but I'm assuming you're talking about hearing from recorded lectures.
Yeah, recorded lectures and also just hearing in class, both.
Recorded lectures you can play back. Hearing in class you can clarify with questions.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, and I guarantee, because that is the nature of the hearing process, when you repeat that mood, you gain something each time you repeat it. If you are open to learn. Remember, there is that mind that can block the learning process when it has a preconceived understanding of what is being said. And therefore, it says that if you're listening properly, at the end, you'll get two questions or two results from the hearing. One will be, you'll get realization on what you heard. And the second one will be questions. So generally, if you get realizations, you don't ask questions because the realizations are the answers. But if you haven't come to the stage of getting realizations, it will become natural to ask questions. And if you don't have either one, that means you weren't properly hearing.
And when we notice that we have a block that you were sharing before, how can we deal with this block of not being a reflective hearer?
Yeah, because we all have a certain mindset, and these mindsets can also block the sound. So we have to really tune into the sound vibration. That helps to get through these blocks. And then we push these blocks aside with what is called, what's the word? Attentive hearing. Really tuning in to what is being said. You're not only hearing the words, but you're hearing how the words are being given. So if you tune in like that, you're going to get rid of all of your other preconceived ideas, because they'll take a back seat as you just tune in really to what is being said, being very attentive to what is being said.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, I hope that helps.
It does a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Maharaj, there is one question by Narsingha Leela Mataji. I will read it. I have heard that Srila Prabhupada said, and our philosophy is that a devotee should not take sides, as in the same way Krishna is impartial. Does it mean we should just try to serve and see how can others benefit from our service? The same thing devotees are doing in Ukraine. Is there anything else we can do?
I don't know what devotees are doing in the Ukraine. I said that before. I just don't know all of these things that are going on. And you say devotees, and then you're just generalizing. Is it this devotee or that devotee or this? Who? One person has one opinion, one person has another opinion. It's a question that cannot be answered because it's a general question. It's something that's very specific. But the understanding is when there's no Krishna consciousness, then it's all confused. When people act in a material way, then who's right and who's wrong? As is explained in the Shastras, from the material point of view, nothing is good. Badra Badra Sakale Samane Manda E Bala E Manda Brahman. Some people say this is good and some take this is bad, but I say everything is bad. Why? Because it's all mental speculation. Because it's all material. Anything material is bad. Why? Because it's mental speculation. That's the statement from Chaitanya Charitamrita spoken by Lord Chaitanya himself. If you want to go to that verse, Dvaita, I think it is. Sakale Samam. I'm not sure where the verse is, but it starts as Dvaita, Advaita, or Dvaita, something like that. Somewhere in the CC. But what that verse is saying, it may be a little hard to find because I'm not sure of the exact first word. It's either Dvaita, or Dvaita, Advaita. So if anybody can find that verse, it'd be good. And Radha Vinodini, I'm sure she knows where that verse is.
Unfortunately, not Guru Maharaj, but I try to find.
Okay. Sakale Saman, Hey Manda, Hey Bala, Hey, something like that. Some people say this is good and some people say this is bad. I say it is all mental speculation. Lord Chaitanya is referring to everything in the material world. This is not about spiritual. But anyway, continue on with so when it comes to the situation in Ukraine, I'm not taking any sides, this side or that side. My concern is that the devotees somehow or other get out of the mess and are saved, and somehow or other, we want the war to stop, but it's not going to stop because there are people in big places who are pushing this war. It's big money. War is big money. And war is also a reaction to sinful activities. I'm just reading. Here, I'll just give you what Prabhupada said. Now, this is what Prabhupada said. It's not me. This is what Prabhupada wrote. You can take it for what it's worth. This is May 30th. This is the calendar. Maybe some of you have these calendars. On every day, Prabhupada has made a statement and they put it in the form of a calendar on each day, what Prabhupada said at a particular year on that particular day. Prabhupada says, whenever there is unwanted population, these three things will naturally, by nature's course, appear: famine, pestilence, and war, and the population will be finished. There was some unwanted population at that time also, which Krishna arranged the war, battlefield of war. In other words, he's referring to Kurukshetra. If you want very good population, very good generation, then we have to follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So wherever there's sinful activities, wherever those sinful activities become more and more prominent, there will be one of these three things: famine, pestilence, and war. Maybe two, maybe three, maybe just one. That is nature's law. And the people who perpetrate it are simply governed by the reactions of the material nature. Because they're demons, they act in a mode of passion. Because they're rakshasas, they act in a mode of ignorance. And because they're devas, they act in a mode of goodness. Material energy is powerful and it's supreme. Why? Because Krishna placed it in it. So if we live a sinful life, we will have to suffer. And those of you who come to the of course, we want everyone to come. For those of you who come to the disciples meeting, I'll be giving a special session on what's happening in the world. It'll be a combination statements by Srila Prabhupada, along with some current events that are happening. So those who come can hear, and it won't be recorded. It's only for those who attend.
Guru Maharaj, where is that meeting?
The disciples meeting coming up. June 24th to 27th. You're
Oh,
coming.
okay.
We're going to have a session on one day on current events, bringing Prabhupada's statements in. If you read Prabhupada's statements, you will be amazed. Whatever's happening in the world today, Prabhupada predicted it. And because Prabhupada he's Trikala Gyan. He knows past, present, and future. There are people who are Trikala Gyan. They know past, present, and future. And their statements are for the benefit of people. It's like, we have the example of the fool. He sits on the branch of a tree and he's sawing on the inside. And he keeps sawing, the branch is getting weaker. He's sitting on the branch. His friend comes along and said, if you keep sawing, that branch is going to break and you're going to fall. And he just pushes the guy away and says, what do you know? And then he keeps sawing and he falls to the ground. He's shaken up. He gets up, he looks for his friend. He says, wow, you're a prophet. How did you know that? sinful life has its consequences. No one can escape the laws of material energy. Not possible. The only way you can escape the laws of material energy is to take to devotional service. Seriously. Brunda, come to the program in London.
Yes, Maharaj, I'm coming.
Yeah, and I was talking. Okay, yeah, I'm glad you're coming. But I was also talking to Vrinda, our host.
This actually, this retreat looks so tempting. I was really thinking, Maharaj, that I really wish that I can go for this retreat. And
I also wish you could go. Well, you know, of course, you decide. But if you can come, I think you'll find it very edifying and very spiritually uplifting experience.
yes, definitely. And also I can get to get association of all the disciples of you, and of course your association. I mean,
Yeah, talk to Vanamali Gopal and come with Vanamali and his wife, and three of you can come together.
yeah, it would be so wonderful. I will definitely try, Maharaj. Definitely.
Linda, don't just wish that you could come, just come.
Pray for me. Please pray for me, Mataji. I would really like to be in such association.
I will be praying in front of Lord Nashikadev, Panchatattva and Sri Radha Madhav. Now that you're asking me, I will pray.
Thank you. Maharaj, thank you so much for all these wonderful answers to all the questions. I always learn so much from your classes. I think we have covered more than 1 hour. So should I still ask for more questions, or you want to wrap up, Maharaj? It's up to you.
Yeah, if there's any more questions, we can.
Yes, Sridevi Mataji has raised hand.
It's not really a question, Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to express my appreciation for Vrinda's very, very thoughtful question on really deeply reflecting, hearing, and that beautiful, very deep answer that you gave her. It was reminding me about that pastime of the ghost Dundubi, and how simply by attentive hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, he got liberated.
Perfect example. Couldn't get better. That story, it's in the Bhagavad Mahatmya, the story of the ghost, and what was his name? What was the name of the reciter? I forgot his name.
I don't remember that, only Dundubi, the ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful example. All of the other people who attended didn't get as much benefit as he did, because he was absorbed in hearing. And he continued to think about what he heard even after there was a break. Yeah, good. That's a perfect, nice example. Nice example.
Radha Vinodini Mataji has raised her hand. Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. You mentioned that in order for us to get real knowledge, we have to have the desire for getting real knowledge. And I'm just not sure. Sometimes we have this feeling that, okay, I would like to get real knowledge, but maybe the desire is not so pure. So I was just thinking that while practicing Krishna consciousness, if our desire is not perfect in the beginning, can it be better? So that maybe in the beginning we don't desire real knowledge, and later we will have that desire.
I think the clarification of the point is understood is that I really want to know God. And then if you really want to know God, then Krishna will send you one who can give you God. But if you say, I want to know God, but I also want to continue in my material life the way it is, then you're mixing in something else. And you may not wind up with finding that person who could really help you. You might find a person who is pious, maybe even has some spiritual credits, but is also teaching how to improve one's material situation. And Prabhupada makes that point. And so he says, those who actually really who came to Krishna consciousness were fortunate because they wanted to know the truth. So I think it comes back to, I really want to know the truth. So that's the more or less the statement that is clear. I really want to know the truth. Not that I want to know God so much, or I want to know knowledge. I really want to know the truth. What is the truth of life?
I'm just wondering because, sometimes we are not really prepared for truth, and that maybe in the beginning I think that I want to know truth, but when I realize that it needs some effort on my side, and it may be big effort, so I maybe
That means you don't.
we just realize.
That means you really don't want to know it.
Mm-hmm.
It means it's conditional. It's mixed.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know it, but you don't want to make the effort to know it, or to sacrifice to know it.
And if this is the case, maybe can it be changed in any way?
Yeah, that comes by association.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, adaushara sadhusanga leads to bhajana kriya.
Mm-hmm. Thank
By
you.
faith,
I will.
you get
Sorry.
association with devotees. With association with devotees, you practice this process, and then you develop an attraction for hearing, for chanting, for serving. And then as that attraction matures, then you want to find that person who can guide you. That's the third step, bhajana kriya. The sadhu sangha is very important.
Yes, thank you. I'm just so many times thinking that unfortunately many times devotees leave Krishna consciousness, and everybody seems to be so serious in the beginning and seems to be so sincere, and I'm just all the time worried that maybe it also happens to me, and what can I do to avoid that? And that's why
What you can do to avoid that is every time you get confused, just write me a letter.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm
Or
really lucky.
you're in a position, you have a lot of knowledgeable people around you. Your yatra is one of the best yatras in Europe.
Yes, I'm really so fortunate that I really have this feeling that if I don't use it to the maximum extent, I'm really just a fool. So yes.
Yeah, I wrote that the other day in my and people who don't take advantage of the good fortune they have, when the time of death comes, then they lament, oh, I could have been more Krishna conscious, but I wasted time. I wasn't serious enough. That is the most pitiable, as I use the word, pitiable situation, to lament at the time of death that I didn't take advantage of what it was given. So don't go down that route. Take advantage of it. It's the greatest fortune. It solves all problems and fulfills all desires.
Mm.
In Krishna conscious, you solve all problems. If you're Krishna conscious, all your desires are perfectly and completely fulfilled.
Yeah, it would be so nice to be able to remember that in every moment, because sometimes it just happens that, you know, in the heat of the moment, somehow Maya catches attention, and later on I regret, why did I do this? Why did I do that? But in that moment, somehow I just couldn't resist. And
Learn from your mistakes.
Mhm.
I mean, because we have a certain attachment for something, the attachment pushes us to make the same mistake again.
Mhm.
When we understand it's not good for us, we can hesitate and reflect before acting. But if we still think, well, I can get away with it and still be okay, then that's the problem.
Mhm. Yes.
But then we learn, and then if we keep making mistakes, then we wind up suffering. And then we learn, well, now I'm suffering. And then we say, that's it. But habit is second nature.
Yes. Yeah, from one devotee, I saw one class who was speaking about how to change habits. And there, I think it was a five-point list. So it was very interesting, and maybe it would be nice to put it into practice.
Yeah, next time you give a class, make that your topic, habits and the 5 points.
Okay.
That would be interesting. I think all the devotees would benefit from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It will also help me, because I always feel that whenever I'm preparing for a class, actually I'm the one who benefits the most, because I can really go deep into one topic. So I'm sure it helps much also to me, and hopefully to others too.
Yeah, maybe you can give Nick class next weekend again, if you want.
This upcoming, or the
Yeah,
weekend
yeah.
after?
Are you coming to Slovenia for the Kirtan program?
Oh, this time unfortunately I cannot, but I'm really preparing for the disciples meeting, so I will be
Okay,
here.
then give class. I won't be giving class on Saturday or Sunday, so.
The problem is that this weekend I won't be near internet, so this weekend I cannot do it. I'm
Okay,
really sorry.
plan next time.
Okay, I will prepare in advance. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so yes, let's conclude.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for today's class. Thank you all the devotees for joining and questions. Maharaj, can I just announce about the retreat?
Yeah, I'm going to be leaving. The devotees can stay on, but Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripasidhubheva Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. You can also announce that the weekend before, on the 19th, on the 19th of June, the weekend before, on Sunday, the 19th, there is initiations at Bhaktivedanta Manor.
Yeah.
And there will be 2 first initiations and 7 second initiations. So that'll happen the same time as Bhagavatam class on the 19th. You can announce that and maybe pass that on to all of the other hosts so they can also make that. If anybody wants to attend that initiation ceremony, they're more than welcome to. And it'll be at the Haveli in Bhaktivedanta Manor. And if you need more information, you can ask any of the devotees who stay in London.
Guru Maharaj, how are you coming back to London after retreat?
After the retreat? Well, I'll be there for a few days after, that's all.
No, where will you be based then? After the retreat?
I'm traveling.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, after the retreat, I'll be traveling.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, my obeisance, Vanchakalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Devacha, Pitanam, Yo Vaishnaveyo Namaha. Or
Thank you very
Bhaktivinoda
much.
Jai.
Jai.
Baat ki
Jai.
Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will just quickly announce about the retreat, which is happening between June 24 to 27 at Vedanta, Lincolnshire, UK. All the disciples and well-wishers of Maharaj are welcome. If you need more information, please email at cmsretreat22@gmail.com and please register as soon as possible because it will be allocated on a first come, first serve basis. So I thank you all once again for joining. I'll see you again next week, tomorrow. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda. Thank you so much. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.